You know, Lizzie, at the end of last episode, everyone thought this couldn't be it. This couldn't be everything that the Still Loading podcast has to say about Stranger Things. What about the finale? What about Will coming out? Well, I have to tell you, it wasn't the end. The end was a lie. We have more to say about Stranger Things. Conformity Gate is real.
And it's right here. People are gonna hate me because I was such a, not like such a believer. I think I wanted to believe it. I think in the back of my head that I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but I'd watched way too many TikToks. But the problem is I am okay. I'm gonna back this up in just a second. I love a good conspiracy theory for TV shows, not for real life things. Like that's bad and that's scary and that can really like fuck people up. But for TV shows, the amount of videos I watched for for Stranger Things 1, like I was so in the deep dark hole. But like same thing with
Severance was one that I really went down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories.
Yes, like I think TV conspiracy theories are so much fun.
That would be a fun episode, actually.
Yeah, so I love that kind of stuff. So like it was fun for me to just also like kind of like play along of being like, what if this was true? Like this, like there were so many people on TikTok who were making a good freaking point.
I didn't believe it. I didn't think the Duffer Brothers had it in them. I watched them write just horrible episode after horrible episode this season. I was like, they don't got it. They don't got it in them.
Everybody's thing was like, this is great. It would be a great idea, but they are not smart enough to make this happen.
And there's too many like people on that show that were doing too many interviews that it would have gotten leaked. Someone would have said something. There really wasn't anything like that in the interviews. Yeah. Really.
Yeah.
So it would have been cool if they I
think it would have been badass because I kept seeing people who were like Vecna invaded like not only the kids' minds but now your minds too, and I was like, how freaking smart would that have been though to be like, hey, he didn't just get everybody in the show, he got y'all too, and y'all just lived a fake episode. I was like, genuinely, I think it would have went down as like one of the coolest fucking episodes. Then I would have been like, that's incredible.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they did not. So for everyone who was hoping for another episode to wrap up Stranger Things in a more satisfying way, this finale is what we got, and we're gonna have to live with it. And on that topic, we gotta. Okay.
I saw somebody the other day who was like, "Conformity Gates is not open." You know how they're doing like the like behind the scenes, like the making of and everything. Mm-hmm. They're like, we were wrong. And I literally, the minute the guy goes, we're wrong, I was like, Skip, we're not doing this again. Okay, I believed you once. I'm not going back. We're not believing it again. But yes, to Alex's point, that leaves us here talking about the last episode. I heard somebody the other day who went, you know what? I don't think I'm listening to this episode. I've heard enough of what Lizzie has to say about it. And there's people who are really upset with me that I didn't like it because I wasn't a big fan. Like, we'll go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. I didn't love this episode like a lot of other people did. A lot of people, like, I get the like pretty bow and everything being good, but I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of buildup for a lot of nothing.
I have one just major gripe with the finale in that they didn't stick to their business.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they wanted to wrap it up nice and happily, great. If they wanted 11 to die, great. But instead they're like, we're going to leave it a mystery in case we need some money in the future. Mm-hmm. It's like it felt very Disney to me of like Disney Star Wars where they'll make a big, cool, bold change and then immediately backtrack on it.
Mm-hmm. And this wasn't meant to be like a fucking mystery show either. Like we already know what's going on. This isn't Inception. The ending of Inception still drives people wild because there's that moment where if you haven't seen it, y'all should watch it. I genuinely think it's one of the best movies ever. It's one of my favorite. But there's a way to know if they're awake or if they're dreaming. And Leonardo DiCaprio, his main character, has like a topper thing that spins.
Like a spin, yeah.
Yeah, and if it spins perfectly, he knows he's dreaming, and if it falls over, he knows he's awake. In the very last moment, it's spinning and you think like you see it wobble, but you're not really sure. And then it cuts to black. And there's a lot of conversation was, did it wobble? Did you hear it fall over at the end? And that's kind of the whole point was how much of this movie was, were they awake or were they asleep? How much of it was fake? And that wasn't the point of Stranger Things for me. So it's like,
No.
just tell me, is she alive or is she not? But
Yes.
then it goes into like this whole like other, which kind of goes into conformity gate and some of the points that people are making though, but also like kind of contradicts with like what the Duffer Brothers said. And I'm pretty sure they said, it's up to y'all, kind of like you said, we don't know if Elle actually died. It's up to you guys. You guys get to decide what fate Elle made. But at the same time, like people are making so many good points of like, okay, if those the noise was happening, could she have actually gone? Could she have actually been over there? You see her get pulled out of the back of the truck. So like there's also a lot of like questions that don't really make sense of like how did she get over there? Like
Yep.
if there is all this sound going on, like how did she manage to get away and get over there and be, you know, it's just like I feel like there's too many questions for them to just be like, But then also on the other hand, I've heard that like Millie Bobby Brown is the only person who actually knows whether or not she made it.
For now.
Yeah. And like you said, until they want to make this spin up, which now I keep seeing interviews of them being like, well, we hear you guys and you guys seem to really like conformity gaze. So like maybe we could do something later on. And like then they're joking. They're like, well, yeah, maybe one day if we're broke, we'll do something. It's like, okay, never mind. Y'all ruined it anyways.
Just let it finish. Let it be done.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need a Stranger Things reboot. What like, you know, prologue, whatever. There's already, I think, at least one spinoff in the works, and
there's an animated version or something coming.
There's an animated, set in between. I think seasons 4 and 5. Like, there's gonna be content for Stranger Things. Just let 11's fate happen.
And
I was already upset that they didn't kill anyone, but I'll accept it.
Much like, you know, I think if they would have killed Steve and they would have killed Dustin, they would have killed 11 and they would have had these more like sacrifice moments, there would have been a lot of people who were pissed off too. And it's also just, it comes around to the idea of you're not going to make everybody happy.
No.
So, you know, it is what it is. You got to kind of live with it and continue. So yeah, it's just one of those moments where like there wasn't going to be an ending that everybody was happy with, so y'all should just be okay with just letting, much like I say, let the dead die, you know, when people kill him and then all of a sudden they're back, kind of like Hopper. You know, let it be. We don't need to continue with the Stranger Things story anymore.
And honestly, I think I was happier with this ending than I was with Game of Thrones.
Yeah. For me, they're like almost two the same. And people are like, that's apples to oranges, but both of them piss me off so bad. I do think this one was better. Looking back on it, I'm like, okay, you know what? Whatever. It was a very sweet ending where Game of Thrones just didn't fucking make sense. It just was stupid. It just pissed me off. One of the best shows ever, just and I think they crushed the ending of it and they went, haha,
democracy with Bran. Let's go.
Yeah. So we'll kind of like, I do want to kind of go back and talk a lot about the episode as like not just overall, but you know, kind of like a breakdown.
Sure.
So in a lot of these, like I'm going to not try to go like scene by scene, but just kind of give us a little bit more to talk about because there is more to talk about of how we felt about some of these characters, about how some of these scenes went, where we think that they could have improved on. So obviously we start this, you know, they're figuring out, okay, if we get to the top of the Squawk Tower, the two worlds are going to collide. We're going to be able to go through. That's how we'll get to Vecna, blah, blah, blah. And one of the first things that you do see is that I thought it was very interesting because I was kind of shitting myself in that moment where you see Max and Vicky in the squawk and Vicky's like freaking out. And then all of a sudden Max starts hearing like the almost like the ticking and you're like, oh God, Vecna came back to get her. But you come to find out it was just 11 and Callie.
Yeah, that was quite the fake out.
Yeah.
I was scared for her in a minute. I was
Oh,
like,
I did. I was absolutely, it wasn't until the last second that I was like, I know where this is going. But for a while, I was like, damn, poor Max can't get a break.
when I saw the water on the ground, I was like, okay, that's kind of like Elle's thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Um,
That's like her mind castle.
but it brings up the question of Callie. Because I'll be honest, I didn't trust Callie.
Really?
Yeah, there was just something always that felt like weird about
Was
her
it
that
her
like
was it her history of a life of crime?
yeah, that's what it is. She's just a rebel child, couldn't trust her. Mom sirens were just bang 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 bang. No, I don't know. I just kept feeling like she was going to betray Elle, and I kind of think that they were setting it up like that cuz she was just
Kind
like
of.
she was standing by the door and like listening. She was just like kind of like awkward. And it was kind of weird that and I get her point of like being like, "Hey, when this all ends, we need to go too." But just the way they shot it and handled it made me feel very like I can't trust you.
For sure. I think if you were trying to set up Elle sacrificing herself at the end, like they kind of seemed like they were,
Mm-hmm.
I think it made sense that you needed a voice in there to really explain why, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
I think, and I think Callie does make a decent point. You know, you look at, well, let's just pick any country, and since it's set here, the United States government, if they knew that that Elle and Callie were still alive, they'd probably do everything to have them under their control,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think Callie actually made a lot of great points.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Somebody made a point the other day though at the end when they blow up the hospital and stuff and Callie had been talking
mhm.
about how there's women in there. They're like, "What you guys blew up that hospital. What happened to all those pregnant women?" And I was like, damn, see, that's not a bad point. What happened to all those pregnant women in the lab, dog? Damn.
Yeah.
Bye bye. Sorry about it. Y'all are goners.
Oh yeah, because they would have still been.
They were still like using Callie's blood to make these babies, and then they blew up the lab in the end. So if there was pregnant women in there, toodaloo.
Yeah, does that make her any better than Dr. K, right?
Yeah, that too. Which is a
Because
whole nother freaking thing. Like, what happened to her? I'm kind of jumping
I
to the end, but it,
to Dr. K.
yeah, because at the end, she walks free, essentially, right?
Yeah, well, she was a government employee doing her job.
Of
When the government tells you to do evil things,
all the people that they could have killed, like you're telling me, the guard that helped Kay shot himself in the face, but Kay, who's running all of this, just
yeah,
yeah, bye, you're fine. Of all the people they could have sacrificed, I'm
yep.
just gonna leave Kay. She just gets to live.
Everyone gets to live at the end of Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I feel like they could have at least got a little bit of revenge there, and Kay could have went down, and that would have been at least a little bit of a victory
Sure.
roar there. Um,
It was funny because they spent a decent amount of time in the finale with Dr. K, like because she shows up to the squawk, and then they're like, "We found out their plan," and then they like didn't really do much besides ambush them on the way out. I guess
yeah.
like they kind of just let them do their thing, and then on their way out, they're like, "We gotcha."
Uh-huh.
It was like, and then also we're gonna let you go right away, but even though you killed a bunch of our
that was another
soldiers
thing.
and employees.
So you guys were telling me also that they like Hopper, especially like okay, the kids, whatever. Maybe the kids got pardoned. I guess like maybe they don't really know what happened in the Upside Down. Nobody can really prove it. Whatever. But you're telling me all these people died and everybody just got to like walk free, like it was no biggie. Like, all right,
Yeah.
18 months later, y'all are good. So in that 18 months, did anybody go to jail? Did anybody get repercussions? Did anybody did anything happen or however many months it was later?
No, Hopper just got his job back and was like, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that, I mean, I try not to pick on those things too much because I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I think one of my favorite ones that I see people argue a lot of is how the hell did Max graduate high school after being in a coma for 2 years?
Well,
And again, it's one of those things that, like, for me, I'm like, whatever. It's not, I don't, that's the least of all of the plot flaws here that I'm thinking about. Like, she got pardoned, or they probably were like, you know what, whatever. Just,
special circumstance.
yeah,
You were, yeah. And let's face it, she could just passed her exams, and they're like, "Yeah, you got your GED, come graduate," right?
good
Like that's
enough.
actually feasible. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one of the most believable things about Stranger Things is
Yeah.
that a girl in a coma was allowed to graduate high school with her friends.
Well, she's very smart. You see it through the show. Like, so I believe that Max would like pass and just be like, okay, good, you're fine. Like, you don't need to sit in class. Like, have at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that one always made me chuckle when they were like, but what about Max not having? How did she? Like, guys, out of all the plot lines, this is what you're worried about.
Mhm.
I did think it was interesting, and like I said, I'm kind of ping ponging a little bit because I'm going to go back a little bit when they're on the squawk tower. I
Yeah.
am very interested in when Steve almost fell. He almost falls, and
Yes.
then there is a big black like pause, and it makes you wonder, like, what was it? Because it doesn't air on TV. Like, you see these big black pauses on like shows that then go to Netflix, and you're like, oh, that was originally a commercial break, but there
Yes.
wasn't. So was it just out of suspense? Do you think it was
Yes.
just out of like, let's make everybody shit themselves a little bit?
Yes. Absolutely.
So stupid.
And they even like alluded to Steve falling off a ledge with like, they had the little Funko Pop or whatever that they put right
Oh,
next to the edge,
that's
and like,
true, with Barb under there.
yeah. So they were alluding to Steve falling off of a ledge,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're like, oh, we psyched you out. Steve's okay,
When they
and go ahead.
when they started making too many jokes about Steve dying, that's when I realized that Steve wasn't going to die this season. I was
Mhm.
one of the people who was really worried about. I think I said this early on episodes ago that was my
Yeah.
biggest fear, was Steve was going to die. And then when the Duffer Brothers started joking about it, I was like, this is either not going to happen or some
Mhm.
really twisted reverse psychology. But I don't think
Yeah.
that they're going to make this many jokes about it and then do it.
No. No. I thought they were talking about people dying enough that I thought someone was gonna.
I didn't mentally prepare myself for nobody. And I hate being like, somebody needed to die to make the season good. I hate
I
being like, there needed to be a sacrifice. I just feel like there was so many beats that it could have happened that made you go, and it didn't. There just was never
I
that moment for me.
I felt like there was enough time talking about, oh, don't die. What if we die? Someone like, you got to come back, or after this is all over, we're gonna do XYZ. We're gonna go to Enzo's. Like someone, anyone. Like it's just bad writing in the sense that they like set something up and then they don't use it. You
Well,
know,
it,
it's like, what if you had a whole TV show about how, I don't know, this guy who's looking for the future mother of his children is, dates on and off his best friend, and they spend an entire season talking about how they shouldn't be together, and then they put the writers at the very end put them together, and then he says, "And that, kids, is How I Met Your Mother." Imagine if that happened to a TV
I've
show.
never seen How I Met Your Mother. So until that moment, I was about to ask you, what show are you talking about?
And imagine if that happened. It's the same thing. It's the same, like, we're going to spend all this time saying, okay, we're going to set these dominoes up, and then we're just not going to use them.
Mm.
And it's really unsatisfying.
Didn't How I Met Your Mother go down as one of the worst endings? Like, a lot of people are like, just don't watch
Yeah.
like the last few episodes. Like, other than that, it's a great show.
Yeah, my recommendation to people is end it when he ends up on the finale at the train station, and then switch. There's a YouTube video of the alternate ending, the alternate edit that they released
Mm-hmm.
of him ending up happy with her, and that is my canonical ending to How I Met Your Mother.
I've never watched it. So many people are like, you should, regardless of like the bad ending, you should sit down and watch it. But I've never sat down. I haven't done it.
I tried rewatching it, and there are some things in that show that don't age well.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's a pretty
It's like
typical.
Friends. If you rewatch Friends, you're like, "Ooh, there's a lot of homophobia and transphobia here." It's the
Yeah,
same thing. So
yeah, yeah.
anyway,
Uh,
we're on Stranger Things finale. How they set up people dying and they didn't, and it felt unsatisfying. And I
well,
think that's why.
prime example is there's a moment, and again, this like so the worlds are colliding. They get over there, you have them going into this fight, and
Mhm.
there you have Nancy, who again I think could have been a good, like, let me sacrifice myself. She's got all this stuff. She gets cornered by, what is it? Is it technically it's not the mind flayer, it is the mind flayer, right? Or is it
Yeah,
the demogorgon? I don't know. She's getting cornered by it, and again, everybody's going,
by the
oh,
Tarask. Yeah, go for it.
everybody's like, oh my god, here's her moment, like she's gonna go down, and just in the nick of time she was saved.
Yeah, that they did that a lot in that
Hmm.
fight, and I also loved. So in this fight, right? They're in the middle of a desert, and they're like the middle of like the Grand Canyon, and then they're like, we got to get up on that canyon to be able to hit the thing in its face with fire. So let's start running. And then they just run down like a random corridor, hoping it takes them up, 100 feet in the air. And they do it in like 30 seconds. And everyone's like, that's so unbelievable. And I'm like, you guys haven't seen the kids at the climbing gym. All right. They're so fast. They're so good at climbing.
But also, guys, what kills the demogorgon? What gets the mind flayer out of Billy? What does this thing hate?
They're on it's heat.
Heat. And what do they
Life in a
do?
desert.
It really does, like, it really does bring back that this kind of just might have been just bad writing. Like, did y'all forget that this was like a major plot point, that this thing hates heat and you sent them
Mm-hmm.
to the
To the
desert?
desert.
Make
Yeah.
it make sense, please. I think being on threads for this has been some of my favorite times, because people make, I wish I could have thought of some of this myself. I wish I could take credit, but I can't. A lot of this was um me reading and watching way too many videos of people being like, but this doesn't make sense again, which is why Conformity Gate was the only reason that made I was like, make
It
it
only
make
makes
sense.
any sense. Yeah.
So this must be the only answer, is that there's something else I'm missing. So yeah, where is all the demo dogs? Where are the demogorgons?
Where are the bats?
Where are the bats?
Why weren't there bats guarding the tower
Where,
that they
like,
had to fight?
I like the fact that all of these things that we've seen that helped build Vecna, that helped build this world, poof, gone. No, we don't need them.
Like I think Vecna was least scary in season 5. His powers seemed to have diminished, and he
Mm.
had less protecting him than
Mm-hmm.
season 4 and season 3.
Yeah, yeah. It again, just somebody make it make sense for me, please, because it just like it's just odd. Like, I saw one the other day that it was like a meme of like Vecna checking in the demodogs to like a doggy daycare, and then them being like, let out the hounds, and he's like, shit, my dogs. I was like, oh, is that where they are? Like, just people
Maybe.
making up like stupid memes, because at some point we need like some kind of reason as to why there was nothing.
Maybe they
Nothing.
saw a demo squirrel and ran away.
Oh my god.
I
That's
don't know.
again, I like that theory better, that they just forgot to write them in. Um
I think they just were like, well, we have to wrap this up now, so we can't make it too overpowered of a fight.
I will say I did enjoy when they do get into, like, they're getting chased by Vecna or Holly and
Mm-hmm.
them. And then you finally do get the full picture of what happened to Henry in the cave. I did enjoy that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that scene, Jamie Camelbauer really just, he did a fantastic job of being Vecna, but then also being Henry. And
Yeah.
there were some moments where Henry scared me more, I think, than Vecna. The
Yeah.
eyes and the bulging eyes and the real just like, I don't know, just scary fucking face.
They did good by him, and they also, I'm glad that he wasn't a victim.
Mhm.
Like, and he didn't have a redemption. He was
See,
just he was just bad. I'm glad.
I I would have been happy with that. I kind of thought that's where it was going because you get this moment where Will's like, "You were just a vessel. The Mind Flayer also used you. He is using you." You get this moment, I feel like, in that where I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna realize that he's also just a victim and maybe help in some way." And he does, though. He turns around and he's like, "No, you're wrong. He showed me that the world is bad." And that was a tough one because I was like, again, I felt like there was a good plot point there. But it's interesting that you were like, no, I'm glad he didn't have a redemption arc. He didn't need it.
I It was the one decision that they made that was not boring.
Yeah.
You know, it was the one time I was like, oh, this, like everything else, it felt like, oh, actions didn't have consequences. This is the obvious thing that needs to happen, or like this is the safe thing. This is the thing that won't upset anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, they're like, okay, well, actually, maybe he's not a good person, and maybe not everyone can be saved.
And
I
I
was like,
think that it
go for
almost
it.
ties into like, because somebody brought up a good point that because Henry even before he opens the box and the stone is in there and the mind flayer like takes control or whatever, there's a moment there's that moment before where he still beats that guy to death.
Mhm.
And I understand it's a scared kid, but do we think that that is showing that Henry had some kind of a lot of anger and passion in his body even before the mind
Oh yeah,
flayer took over? Because I
yeah.
think it would have been vastly different had the Mind Flayer taken over and then he beat the guy to death. But he did it before.
To be fair, that guy did shoot him.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But I just can't imagine a typical 6-year-old
Yeah,
like being like, you shot me. I feel like they would run and cry or hide, not, I'm going to beat you with a rock.
absolutely.
But that's just my thought. So I think it just leans into that. Henry had a lot more going on before the Mind Flayer got in there and fucked with him
Hmm.
even more, you know?
Yeah,
Um, but I'm glad that they because I was a little scared that they were never going to tell us what was in the box. I thought that
it
was
was a
gonna
rock.
it was a rock. I thought it was never gonna get shown, and I was gonna be like, man, that would kind of suck. Yeah, you want to know
They
something?
could have done a Pulp Fiction illusion, right? Because they did all sorts of 80s and 90s references. They could have
Mm-hmm.
done like where they open up and then you just see the gold light on his face. That could have been fun.
um, of course, of all the people kind of continuing down of like the line of the season or the episode, and then who fucking dies? Callie.
Callie. Yeah.
And again, it was like one of those deaths where I spent way too much time going, did she actually die? Was she actually there? Was she, or was this all an illusion? Because she'd already faked out like so much of her life that it made
Mhm.
me wonder, like, okay, were you actually there? I will say though, when Hopper left her there the first time, I was like, good for you, Hopper. Like, I felt bad for Kelly, don't get me wrong. But when you're like, okay, it's either my kid for sure me and her surviving, or I try to get both of you and my chances get really slim.
Mhm.
You know what? Hopper made the dad choice. I don't hate him for that.
No, no. But he did go back for her.
He did. I thought that was a cool little redemption as well though.
Yeah. And I think I was a little. That's one another thing with Callie dying. I was like, okay, how if she died? How did she then live long enough to know that like 11 gets out safe, and
Mhm.
then there's just a lot with the whole 11 fake out with Callie's death. But like, I I I complained that they redshirt people every season in Stranger Things, right? They introduce a character or reintroduce a character, and then they basically prop them up to then have them just die.
Mm.
They do that every
You
season.
think that was Callie?
I think that was Callie. I think that was one of the reasons why they brought her back. Is they're like, okay, we need someone that people care about, that we can just, redshirt them, kill them, and it
Without
won't
caring too
matter.
much. Yeah.
But I think they missed the mark about why, like, Sean Astin's death worked so well in season 2,
Mm-hmm.
right? That he, like, a beloved 1980s actor from the
Right.
Goonies,
Yep.
uh, B, beloved to sort of our generation because of Lord of the Rings. C, he was a father figure for Will, and they kind of contrasted Sean Astin's character with Will's biological father in that
Mm-hmm.
season. So when he dies, it felt like they lost something.
Yeah.
What did we lose in Callie dying? I
Mm-hmm.
guess the only other person that can relate to Elle in the experience of going through Hawkins' lab. So it was a loss to Elle, but, like,
But
I don't know.
he also like sacrificed himself too. It was
Yeah.
vastly different. Like he got taken out by the dogs, and he was trying to like be like, okay, I got this, y'all run. We're like, unfortunately, Callie just died because Elle was a little too slow. Well, really, Murray was a little
Well,
too slow, but you know.
not only that, like, they faked us out with another death earlier in the episode as well with Elle. Remember, Hopper um
Oh, did
shot
you
like
buy
thought
that?
he. I did.
Did you?
I was like, that is a cool choice. I was all in. I was like, okay, my complaints about the season have been rectified, because if they kill Elle like that, that would so fuck up Hopper, and that would
Yeah,
make their fight with Vecna so much harder.
so
Who
much
needs
deeper.
the bats and the dogs if they don't have Elle?
Yeah, that one I didn't buy, and I think it was just the way it was set up because Vecna was there. You could tell that they were like, and I think they kind of had planted the seed enough of like, Vecna makes you see things that aren't actually there. He
Mm-hmm.
makes you see your worst nightmares. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. That I was like, no, I don't think he's actually there. I think he's just in Hopper's head. And then, especially when she got shot, I was like, oh, this is just a very smart ploy to pull Elle out of those situations, out of
Mm-hmm.
like the mind area, bring
Yeah.
her back. And that's just one less thing he has to worry about.
Mm.
But it's funny because I was also talking to some other people and they were like, oh no, 100% thought like Hop shot Elle. And I
That
was
would
like,
have been
that's
dope.
uh,
That would have
I
been cool.
I I think it would I think the other problem was like to me it diminishes the rest of the season. Like I don't know if it would have worked. I think an L death would have only worked at the very end. I think it happening before Vecna dies. I think like realistically they would have too hard of a time killing Vecna by themselves without her.
Oh,
Cuz
absolutely.
again, they built in
But
like
what if?
the
Imagine making that fight hard though.
I mean, that fight lasted all of 2 seconds. That fight
The
was
Will coming out scene
quicker.
was longer than the fight with Vecna.
That's a whole nother scene we need to talk about, though, to be honest, because we didn't realize that we didn't talk about it in the last episode, and it was such a detrimental like episode or moment, you know, for multitude
A
of
multitude of
yeah,
reasons.
thank you. That a multitude of reasons, and honestly, like I thought it was very cute. I thought it was great, but I also kind of think they fucked it up a little bit because I think Robin being like, I confided in this one person. I think you need to find that person. Like, you are who you are, and that's okay. And then what does he do? He does it to the entire group. And to me, I just felt like it would have been way more impactful if it was his mom. Because I really think in that moment, if he went to his mom, Joyce would have done exactly what Joyce had been doing, which is, I love you anyways. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, I was like, I don't know, I guess I've never had to come out to anybody, but I just felt like it was so overwhelming to come out to a whole group, and I appreciated them all being like, "Well, we love you anyways," you know?
Mhm.
But I just felt like they took Robin's, like, monologue of, like, "My person was Steve, he didn't judge me," and then you didn't even I feel like you could have given Mom, like, that moment to shine, or Mike.
Or Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my main complaint with that scene, because like they have been setting it up for like 3 seasons, right?
Mhm.
They really started laying the seeds in season 3 when they're all horny and have girlfriends except for Will.
Yeah.
Mike even has a moment in season 3 where he says, "It's not my fault you don't like girls," and then there's
Mhm.
kind of this like moment where Will looks shocked and Mike is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that," and then it was like, "Oh, so." This is a thing, right? And Will's gay, and that's awesome. I think it's great representation.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they were like, okay, let's have this kind of element in the show. My complaint is that it didn't serve the plot. So they stopped the series and they're like, I guess we got to have a coming out scene. We'll put
Mhm.
it here. And they kind of shoehorned in a reason of like, Vecna knows this about me, so I need you all
Ye
to know. So it's not
yeah.
can't be weaponized against me. And I think back to another beloved TV show for this podcast, Ted Lasso,
Mhm.
and the scene where Colin has to come out to the team,
Oh, yeah, that's
and
a
they
very beautiful scene, I love that scene.
and it's one of my favorite scenes in the show
Yeah.
because it works so well, and it also is just so quintessentially Ted Lasso, right? Because he then
Mhm.
makes a whole monologue about like, trying to compare Colin coming out to his friend being a Denver Broncos fan while living in Kansas City, which was just like it was just a funny like, I don't know, the scene, but it also it had a lot of heart, and it embodied so much of that show, and it worked. It was an important part of the plot.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas like there was no indication that Vecna showed what Will said Vecna showed him. One,
Yeah.
uh, two, like he then was like, okay, I know we're about to stop 2 universes from colliding, but like we need to gather everyone around into the squawk, and I need to say a big thing, but I won't tell anyone. I don't know. It felt weird.
Yeah.
It felt like the writers didn't have a spot for that to be a plot point, and they're like, okay, well, we need to have it because we set it up and everyone's expecting it, and we've
Yeah.
had the yearning, right? Will yearning for Mike. And hey, like Mike's single now, so let's go, Will.
Yeah.
Um,
His girlfriend died,
and
or didn't, we
yeah,
don't really know.
we don't know. They don't care.
Shoot
They
your
will,
shot, dog.
yeah, shoot your shot until the next season of Stranger Things comes out, the reboot. So I felt that it was. I'm glad it happened. I'm sad how it happened. Of
Yeah,
like,
and maybe it would maybe I don't get it because it wasn't tailored for me. Maybe it
maybe,
wasn't meant for me. And so, if it spoke to other people, like, I'm glad that it did then.
and,
I just felt like it was such like you said, it was such a point that we were building to that I feel like we got
yeah,
to it, and to me, it just felt less, like, meaningful with it being, like,
yeah.
a group than him, like, picking somebody that he really felt like he trusted and stuff. But I loved that, Robin, was so supportive and the back is like crying and stuff. And it felt so real though at the same time where like Robin was like, good for you because this is something hard. And especially like back in that age, like it was
Yeah.
vastly less like I hate to say appropriate, but or
Well,
accepted.
it's right. It's right at the AIDS during the AIDS epidemic when
Hmm.
this show takes place, right?
Yeah.
And Robin didn't have a lot to do that season, so I'm glad that she could be a little like den mother to him. And
Uh-huh.
and I for me, I also I'm sure out there's a little boy or little girl who was feeling some kind of way, and that scene was important to them,
Mhm.
that because maybe they are going through a journey of self-discovery or just haven't come out to their family yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And just see a coming out on such a big TV show, right? Like one of the biggest TV shows in the world, and have it go that positively. I'm sure impacted a lot of people really positively.
Yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, I have to also reconcile that it might not have just been built for me, and that's that's okay too.
Yeah, and I think about that a lot, because I went to go watch a talk about someone who wrote for Interview with a Vampire, like the show, the TV show, so not the movie. And she said that she had to write one of the first like gay sex scenes on television through this show, and she's had a number of people like talk to her about like how that helped them with their coming out journey. So like I'm hopeful that scene helps other folks, but when I'm like, when I have my writer's hat on, I'm like, okay, but we could have had this feel more earned, or like feel more relevant to the plot.
I just wanted to feel a little bit more special. That's just me. I don't know. I also loved that it ended up not being that he was so in love with Mike. I could appreciate that it was like, you just made me realize this about me, or about myself. And it didn't need to be like, I love you and I'm in love with you. I was kind of glad that they let go of that plot line of like that he needed to be in love with Mike. That it was just more or less that like Mike, like more was a placeholder. I can't remember whoever Vicky said hers was.
It was that country singer girl.
Yeah, and he mentions it. He's like that you're my blah blah blah, or whatever it is. I also thought that was I could appreciate that, them not making it a whole like thing. Like, let me also tell Mike that I love you before we go into battle, because let's face it, that would have also maybe fucked up a lot of things.
Yeah. That just would have been too much to cover in 2 hours.
So let's just talk about the end though, because I feel like we have picked apart a lot of this.
So they evade capture, and then they go 18 months later when it, or
something like that,
6 months later when it's like graduation for high school.
Yeah.
And Dustin does his valedictorian speech.
That speech was great though, by the way. Okay, I loved that speech. I thought it was really good. I was a little annoyed all season about how much Dustin took on Eddie.
Yes.
But seeing Dustin do exactly what Eddie wanted was kind of neat, because if you go back,
nice nod.
Yeah, and you listen to Eddie, and Eddie's like, I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna be in the principal's face, I'm gonna flip him the bird, and then I'm gonna run off that stage, or whatever it is. Like, there's like a few things that he says he wants to do.
Grab my diploma and run off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that Dustin ended up doing that, and so that
was his year.
I thought his speech was really good. Like, I ended up really enjoying that scene and the nod to Eddie in the end.
Yeah, and Mrs. Wheeler was there. That was awesome. But I don't know why Mr. Wheeler was there. I don't know why
Googled it, okay, because I was like, maybe Alex and I are crazy. But a lot of the things on the internet said that no one ever said that he died. He just was unconscious.
Ugh.
But again, then why at the very end, when Mrs. Wheeler comes to the top to get them or whatever, all of a sudden, I mean, maybe it's just a distance thing.
Yeah.
But she looks fine. She went from scars.
Oh, she looks fine.
Jesus. to no scars at the top of the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So they're all at the graduation, and then the graduation happens. They actually have a nice nod to the snowball dance, where like the girl that he asked to dance with him and she rejected him at the end of season 2, then invites him to a party at her house.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was cool. It was like, it was a full circle little moment, and I was like, reference my favorite scene in the whole series.
Okay, that makes that scene a lot more okay. Because again, on the Conformity Gate, they were like, why all of a sudden are the kids that weren't interested in Dustin? And it's because Dustin saved the world, whether they know it or not. But that makes that a lot more special, knowing that it was a full circle moment. Okay. Well, thank you for teaching me that, because I had no idea.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, we don't need girls. I know what we're doing. We're playing D&D.
Stick to the plot!
Yeah. And I I was not like that in high school. I did play a lot of D&D in high school, believe it or not. I am and was a big nerd. Actually, we played Pathfinder First Edition, but not D&D. Anyway, and I thought it was interesting that they were fighting Strahd at the end, because Strahd in 5th edition D&D, like the current edition, is a very popular character, and he's kind of, besides Vecna, like probably the most like famous like big bad in the history of like D&D, I would argue. There's very few big bads as prolific as Strahd and Vecna.
Okay.
So I wonder if they're setting up the next sort of spin-off to be about Strahd, and it'll be all like vampire-y, which would be very cool.
That's where Eddie
Like,
is. Sorry.
That's where Eddie is. Maybe Eddie went to Barovia. We don't know. See ya in Ravenloft, kids. Yeah. So, but I think that would be very cool if they wanted to do, you know, this next one be like, because I think they've already announced it or said that they're thinking of doing a spin-off.
The only one that I know for sure is the
okay,
the animated one. I don't know if there was any confirmation about anything else yet.
Sure, but I would love to see them do like a show where like the big bad is.
But if they
Strahd.
do another one, okay,
I wouldn't want the same characters.
No, do you think they take on the young crew, the Holly, or do you just find a whole new set?
I think it would be cool to just pick a new set, new setting, like they did sort of the Twin Peaks thing. Find a different sort of vibe, you know, maybe even a different part of the world. Maybe put it in like England or something.
Yeah. I could get down with that too, because that also, like, you know, brings the end, you know, to the end, which is Mike, and you know, sits down and he also talks about this happy ending that they all get in their campaign, that you know, he kind of just alludes to everybody that, you know, Max and Lucas continue their relationship, that Will lives this happier life now, free,
goes meets a nice boy in a gay bar, has a great time.
Dustin,
I don't remember what happens to Dustin. I remember as soon as that monologue ended, I was like, did he say anything about Dustin? I'm sure he did.
I just don't remember what it was. Even Steve, maybe, I mean, this is different though. Steve even gets his little happy ending being the baseball coach.
Yeah.
So
even though he played basketball, but anyway, it's fine.
Yeah. But Mike kind of rounds it out in this like happy ending, and then includes Elle of like, potentially she got away and is alive and went to go find the 3 waterfalls, even though I'm pretty sure we never see 3. We only see 2 of them, guys. And that kind of just also leaves the opening of, did Elle survive or not?
Yeah.
Which again, I think if I had to pick one, I think she did, if I'm being honest with myself. I think all the things that you saw, with Lucas and Max, I think were true. I think what you saw with everybody else was true. And I think it was very interesting early on, something that stuck with me was that they said Vecna doesn't show you anything that isn't true, which I guess kind of contradicts with the whole Hopper situation. But that kind of stuck with me a little bit, that I was like, I wonder if like what Mike is showing is also all true. So my theory is she is still out there. That's what I believe.
I believe that she is still out there, not because I want to, but because I know how these things work. And I know that they're just keeping her around just for whenever they need some Millie Bobby Brown in their life.
Yeah.
When they need to break the glass, they're like, oh, Holly the Heroic is not as fun as Will the Wise. Bring in Millie Bobby Brown, and I guess Millie Bobby Bon Jovi now.
Yeah.
And that is what they're going to do.
Yeah. And then you have like I think honestly, I think that was probably one of my favorite parts of the ending was the new crew coming in.
That
And
was nice.
I
That was a
think
nice
it's
nod.
like such a nice like ode to like the things that you enjoy as like a child, and getting to see a new generation coming in regardless of what it is, especially when you're talking about like with us like games, like seeing like the next generation love like certain games like we did, or board games or books or whatever.
Yeah.
Or in their sense like D&D, like
Hmm.
having Holly recover and be okay, and having her friends that were there with her that experienced all this stuff with her, um come down there and they're learning. I thought that was one of the more like cute, beautiful, nice endings for Stranger Things that you
Yeah.
can't really hate on. Like it was just a good bow on top too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a nice moment, and the last shot was really nice. It actually reminded me of the final shot of Friends where they all put the keys down. It was very similar to that.
Oh, with the
Very nice vibe.
books.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
So I thought overall, while I have a lot of gripes, that was a nice bow to put it on, which was another reason why Conformity Gate was a total copium sham. We're saying this and recording this, might I add, the day before the making of documentary comes out. So we
Mm.
might have to apply clown makeup here in a week, but it's fine.
Well, a lot of people have a lot of problems with this too, because they claim that like nobody Netflix doesn't know the ending. There was like a lot of like kind of like what were the Duffer Brothers actually doing, because like I can't remember the whole thing, but it was like the Duffer Brothers claim that Netflix didn't actually know it was ending, but Netflix claims that they always knew it was coming, and that's
Mhm.
why the making of it is there. And so there was like a lot of like, so which one was it? Did you guys have it actually planned out to season 5, or did you guys just decide, and that's why it kind of felt jumbled, is because you guys got so far and then you had to scramble to make it work because you had to, kind of thing.
I don't know, but hey, at least he got a finale. Look at all the Netflix shows that just like died, like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and like there's been a number of shows that Netflix is like, oh, you've had 4 seasons,
This is way too
bye.
big for them just to let go. People would have lost their ever living minds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm not like a whole hater. I'm just a partial hater and a partial conformity gate believer. Well, not anymore. But I was sending a lot of TikToks being like, "Holy shit, this would be crazy. This would be wild."
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
so, but all that to say, I don't know, not horrible, not the best, but it was good. It was fun while it ran. I think there was definitely some seasons that were way better than season 5, but it kept me
Yep.
entertained. It definitely was a topic of conversation for a lot of years. And now it's done. I don't know if I'll keep up with all the other random things. Like, I'm not much of an anime person, so I'm not sure I'll do the whole like anime thing. It depends on how good the ratings actually are, I think, in the end.
If they do like a proper spin-off, I'll watch it.
Yeah. It all just kind of depends on what exactly it would be.
Yeah.
Um, but thanks for listening to part 2. Hopefully we didn't piss you guys off too much here.
I hope I did actually.
Alex likes to rage bait people, so it's fine.
Yes.
Alex
Which
tried to tell
I'm
me that he was just going to come in here and the entire thing was just going to be rage bait, and that's all it was. Uh,
no, that's gonna be if I have to do some episodes while you're on your maternity leave, it will just be me inviting people on to rage bait Lizzie. It'll be great.
Wonderful. Great. Thanks for listening, guys. We will actually see you guys next week because you guys are so
Yeah.
lucky because we did part 1 and then part 2, and next week will be another exciting episode about a beloved video game.